If you missed last night's lecture, or you just want to sort of verify a few of the points that we ran through, let me just briefly touch on some points. We certainly started by thinking about the degree to which there were entrepreneurs already in the room. We played a game where we tried to find the E in the I of the entrepreneurs, and once we realised that was just a game, essentially what we were trying to do was to develop this appreciation that human nature is a pretty complex thing, so is the environment within which you live in, and I put forward the notion that perhaps entrepreneurship can be seen as the function of the interrelationship between human nature and the environment. And if we were to accept that both of these things are quite complex, then we would also be accepting that entrepreneurship is a very difficult thing to try and define or to capture. We asked the students whether they thought entrepreneurs were born or did they think they were made through coming along and attending classes such as this. And essentially I then offered the suggestion that maybe they're just found. Maybe we can't predict who's going to be an entrepreneur and when people will be entrepreneurs, but maybe we just find people in society who act in an entrepreneurial way. We offered this suggestion that perhaps entrepreneurship is the last refuge of the troublemaking individual. So if you found yourself being a bit of an outsider sometimes in society, or you've ridiculed people who are trying to do things differently, then maybe you can start thinking about the nature of entrepreneurship as a process through which people are actually trying to destroy the status quo. We talked about failure. We touched on failure. The picture you've got here is of someone who was the most unsuccessful baseballer in the history of baseball in America, and the next picture would have been the same person again, and essentially Babe Ruth. He's had more strikeouts and he's had more home runs than anyone, and it was just this interrelationship between failing and succeeding at the same time. We talked about how the curriculum for this unit is developed on a notion of the reasonable adventurer. The reasonable adventurer is a graduated student capable of creating their own opportunities for satisfaction. And our curriculum is built around the development of 6 attributes. How well you can be both a believer and a skeptic of the ideas that you're exposed to, the extent to which you can discover the individuality of the other people that you work in groups with, the extent to which you can make decisions based on your own value judgments, your own experiences, the extent to which you can actually put up with some ambiguity, the fact that not everything's spelled out nice and clearly, the extent to which you can actually take the theoretical concepts we're going to work with and apply them to your everyday life, and your ability to work in an environment where we use sense of humour to enable everything to move through pretty easily. We had some definitions of entrepreneurship. I won't bore you with those now, but essentially what we tried to do was we tried to move towards this this issue of, let me just spin this around a little bit. We tried to get you guys to look at the first reading, which is Aldridge and Kenworthy. I'll email that out for you today, for those of you who haven't got it. And what I want you to do for your first reading is to consider the interrelationship between people who reproduce ideas in society and people who are innovative, who create new ideas. Read through the article, Aldridge and Kenworthy. Work with the people in your group. All I'm really looking for you to do between now and the next workshop is just come along with some examples and discuss those briefly, 4 minutes, with the other people in the class, just to give you a feel for what it's like to take a paper, find the underlying idea, see if you can find evidence of that in your life, bring it along, discuss it in front of the class. Once you've done that, you'll be off and running and you'll be able to make sense of what it actually is we're doing in the unit. Now the unit operates using a whole range of social media. We've got my computer, we've got my iPhone, and both of these things will actually put content into a blog, and I'll be creating voiced messages in response to people's questions, which I think other people would benefit from knowing the answer from. Any content that gets loaded onto this blog here will automatically be posted onto UTAS Enterprise for Twitter, MySpace, and Facebook. So if you've got a Facebook account, MySpace account, or Twitter account, you can simply look for UTAS Enterprise and you can follow. You can ask to be a friend or follow or whatever the case may be. I'll also post a lot of content just like this presentation now onto YouTube and send you out links via email and via Twitter and Facebook saying that there's content that's been posted to YouTube. And if you've got questions and stuff like that, ask me and I'll put them all together into YouTube answers as well, and we'll see how that actually works for you guys. The learning outcomes you'll see in the unit outline, which is online. It's all pretty straightforward. There's nothing too different there, other than take a good look at the stuff that's down the bottom. It's very much about you and your ability to reflect on the things that you do in this unit. We've got the marks spread across a range of things. You'll notice here that 75% of the marks are based on what you do in the workshop. 25% of the marks are based on your 2-hour exam. So you've got the presentations, which we just talked about with the reading, and that the challenge for you there is to take the reading and to bring it back and give us your interpretation. To succeed at this task, you must work closely with your group, and you've got to get interested in the world you live in. You've got to try and find a way of applying that theory to the actual world you live in. The group sense making, don't worry about that yet. We'll do more with that as we get into next week's workshop. But essentially it's a reflective exercise where you're going to share your feelings about certain statements that I make to the class and then reflect on the differences of opinion that we actually find amongst the class. We've got a game which we'll play later in the semester, so again, don't worry about that just now because it doesn't happen until weeks, I think 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13. And you've got a group assignment. You and your group will run the Pepper's restaurant up at Christ College for either an evening or for a lunch. You get to make some money out of doing this, and we'll spend a lot more time talking about the nature of that assignment. Again, it doesn't run until later in the semester. Hopefully this has given you a very quick and albeit nasty little catch up on what you may have missed last night. The main thing is make sure you are there for the workshop next week if you haven't already got started in your group. Let's get you back up to speed. We don't expect everyone to be operating well until week 3. That's why we meet for weeks 1, 2 and 3. Any questions or concerns you've got, just contact me by email, phone, whatever's best for you, and by all means follow UTAS Enterprise via the blog or via any of the other social media forms. You'll see all my links at the bottom of my emails. Good luck, and as I say, any problems, just give me a tingle.